Hello everyone. Welcome once again to Libraries Adventures Live. It's going to be another fun one today as we meet author illustrator and Sainsbury's Children's Book Award winner Kim Hillyard. Kim has now written and published 2 beautiful picture books. So we've got Mabel and the Mountain and the brand new Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race. Not to mention illustrating these books too. So not only does Kim write these books, she's also done all the illustrations for them too. We're going to be learning more about Kim's illustrations today and all the wonderful characters she's created and the inspiration behind these shortly. But first, let's remind ourselves of the great Aloud session we had last week, where Tiffany, May and Poppy met author of My Hair, Hannah Lee. Did you watch it? I did, and I really enjoyed it, especially seeing what Hannah had in her bag. If you didn't watch it, then it's not too late to catch it on our Facebook, YouTube or website. I'll just bring up the website address for you here. So you can catch it on our website, kirkleyslibraries.co.uk/lal. Remember, we love to see your work. So if you did Hannah's challenge last week, the story writing challenge, then please send it to us, as we'd love to read it. And you may be featured on our social media pages. So you can send it to lal@kirkleys.gov.uk. Okay, I think I've talked enough now. So let's meet today's special guest, author-illustrator Kim Hillyard.
Hello!
Hi, Kim. It's lovely to meet you. How are you today?
Yeah, really good, thank you. We've got more snow where I am today, so I'm looking out my window and I can see that it's actually started to settle on the ground. So
where are you talking to us from today, Kim? Where is it?
I'm in Wimbledon, which is, I guess, just outside of London. You might know it. There's a very famous tennis tournament here, so you might know it from that. But yeah, and I'm also in where I do all of my work. So I'm in my home, and this is a room upstairs in my home, which is where I work. Yeah.
So nice and cozy, keeping warm.
Yeah, we are. I've got some very warm socks on, which you can't see under my desk. I've got pink and blue fluffy socks on.
Oh, you definitely need them today. Yes, I went out earlier and it was absolutely freezing out there. And we've had some snow here as well.
Yeah.
And I think we might be getting some more at some point. So fingers crossed.
Fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Get out for snowball fights and snowman building. And yeah.
Love to go out and build a little snow person.
Okay, so we're all really excited about today's session, Kim. I, for one, can't wait to hear more about the inspiration behind some of the wonderful characters that you've created. So you've got the 2 picture books that you've written and illustrated. So we've got Mabel and the Mountain here. So this is your first one, wasn't it, Mabel and the Mountain?
Yes, Mabel and the Mountain. She's here with me today.
There she is.
She can fly, in case anybody some of you probably haven't met her yet. These are her little wings. You can see her on the front of your book there. I think she's behind you too. Yes.
And she's a very brave fly, isn't she? She's a very brave fly and she's very determined, isn't she?
She is, yeah, even though she's small. Yeah.
Yes, she doesn't let anything stop her, does she?
No.
And then we've also got your brand new book, Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race.
Right, yeah.
And we're going to be learning more about Ned as well today, aren't we? Because this book is brand new, isn't it? It's only just been published.
Brand new, yeah. And you might be able to see I've got my garden decorations behind me as well.
Fabulous. So we're going to be learning more about that. That's brilliant. So I think we're ready. If you're ready, to hand over to you, and you can do your session. So we're going to be learning more about your career as an illustrator, and there's also a bit of a kindness theme as well, isn't there, today?
Yes.
So we're going to be learning all about how to be kind. So without further ado, I'll take myself out of the stream and
thank you, Leah.
Floor's yours.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to Leah. I'm so excited to be here with you today. So I thought we would start by reading my new book, Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race. And yes, it is a story about kindness, and it stars Ned the hamster. So as I've already said, I am here at home in my upstairs room. This is where I wrote Ned and drew the pictures for Ned. And, you know, I'm a little bit sad that we can't be together in the same room. So I thought we could still find a way to share this story together. So I wonder if throughout the reading, you might be able to help me wherever you are with 3 things. And this isn't just for children, even though I'm sure the children are going to be experts, the young people, grown-ups, you can help as well. I need your help with 3 things throughout the book. The first thing is Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race is, of course, set in a garden. You can see my green flowers behind me, and one of the characters that you'll meet in the garden, one of my favorite characters, is a little slimy garden slug. So every time you hear me say the word slug, I wonder if you can help by making the little slug noise. And the little slug noise is made up of 2 noises joined together. The first noise is a slurpy, sluggy, slimy sound, which goes like this. And the second noise is a very sweet oh. So the little slug noise goes like this. Ah. And when you hear me say the word, so let's have a practice. Little slug. Ah. Did you join in? Okay, we're going to try again. So if you didn't join in on that one, now is your chance. You ready? Little slug. Ah. Very good. The second thing I need your help with is Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race is a race. What do we do when we race? Normally, we run or we move very, very fast. So when you hear me say the word runs, I want you to see if you can imagine that you are running in a race. So you might move your arms, you might wipe some sweat away from your brow, you might check the time. How much longer have I got to be running? Oh, this is such a long race. So when you hear me say the word run, but the trick is to see if you can do this from wherever you are sitting without getting up. So like me, you might be sitting in a chair, you might be sitting on the floor, you might be very lucky, you might be sat on your sofa. So when you hear me say the word runs, very good. And when you hear me say the word races, I want you to see if you can move even faster than that. So runs and races even faster. Okay, very good. The last thing I would like your help with is, now, I suppose, do I need to give you a warning? I don't need to give you a warning because this isn't a scary story, but there is something inside this book that is a little bit scary. Inside this book, there are some giant teeth. These teeth are big and they're sharp. So when I say the word teeth, I want you to imagine that you have got very big, very sharp teeth. And I want you to think that you are eating, about to bite down on a huge sandwich, a sandwich that's so big, it makes your hands look tiny. So let's have a practice. Teeth. Very good. I'm going to try it one more time. Teeth. Excellent. So let's just have a quick recap and then I'll read the story. Number 1, little slug. Number 2, runs, races, and finally, teeth. Fantastic. I think we are now ready to read Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race. Oh, one more thing before I start. Can you see Ned has a little hat on? Yes, he has a little red hat and it has a little spinner at the top, which means that as he moves, the spinner goes round and round. Now, if only I had something similar. Aha! My own Ned hat. I'm going to put this on to read the story. Let's do my hair. Woo! There you go. Did you see it spin? Fantastic. Right. Let's go. Ned and the Great Garden Hamster Race. A story about kindness. There you go. Little picture of Ned there. This is inside Ned's house. Today is the day Ned has been waiting for. See, he's left a little note on his cage there and it says, "Back soon, love, Ned." Today is the day of the Great Garden Hamster Race. And there's Ned. Hooray! You can see he's come all the way down here. Wow, wow. And there he is, he's outside. Hamsters from all over the world have come to take part. Big ones, small ones, hairy ones, scary ones, and some very fast-looking ones. But Ned has been training, and now he is ready to win. 3, 2, 1, go! The race begins, and soon Ned is in first place. He zooms past a little slug. Ah. The little slug says, "I think I'm lost." But Ned does not have time for small talk. There he goes. He races under some hungry pigeons. "I'm hungry." "Me too." "Does anyone have any sandwiches?" But Ned does not have time to stop for lunch. He leaps over a giant hole. "Help me!" But Ned does not have time to stop and help. He just runs and races and races and runs until he slips and trips and falls into a very uncomfortable position. And just when it seems like things cannot possibly get any worse, he looks up and sees teeth! Help! No! But luckily, this is not a hamster eating fox. "Thank you," says Ned. "No problem." Now Ned is back on track, but instead of running forward, he stops and thinks and decides to run back to the giant hole, back to the hungry pigeons. "Carrot sandwiches! Hooray!" And back to the little slug. Ah. You can see down here. And look, picks the little slug up, takes her back to her home, and they say, "Mavis, you made it." Finally, Ned runs to the finish line, but it is a lot harder in the dark. Suddenly, he looks up and sees a light. You waited for me. There he is. Ned! Found him. We missed you. Let's do this. And so, with one giant leap, the hamsters from all over the world finished the Great Garden Hamster Race together. Yay! There they are. There we go. That is the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. Just take the Ned hat off there. Oh, straighten my hair. Very good. I hope you enjoyed the story about Ned the hamster running in the Great Garden Hamster Race, and I hope that in some way it might inspire you to look for some ways to stop and be kind. Now I've read the story, and I thought perhaps I could talk a little bit about how I make the artwork for my books. So yes, this is my second book, and I made the artwork for Ned in this very room. I made the artwork for Mabel, which is just behind me there, here in this room. So the way I like to work is the first thing I do is I write the story. When I've finished writing the story, I start to design the characters. So the main character in Ned is, of course, Ned the hamster. And I do all of my designing, all of my ideas in my sketchbook. And here is my sketchbook. And you can see here, I can move it, here are some very early drawings of Ned. And I've written at the top here, his body is never straight, because what I've started to realize as I was drawing him is that by using rounded lines and changing his shape, it makes him look as if he's running. It gives a much better sense of movement. And once I've done these kind of ideas and I think, yep, I really like the way this is looking, I start to play around with some colours for the hamster. And Ned was quite easy actually, because when I was younger, I used to have a little hamster. She was called Sandy, and she was a golden colour. So I knew I kind of wanted Ned to be a similar colour. So here's some paintings of Ned that I've done just to work out the colour and where the lighter and darker bits might be. The lighter and darker bits are really useful because they help to give much more of a shape to the character rather than it looking, you know, just one colour. So that's really cool. That was my process for Ned. Once I've designed the characters, I start to think about how the page might look, a finished page might look inside the book. Now, you might remember this page. Let me find it. The little slug page. Oh, where's the little slug page? Oh, towards the back. The little slug page. This one here with the leaves down there. So I'll show you the drawing I made in my sketchbook of what I wanted this page to look like. Here it is. And you can see, you can get an idea. So I kind of knew that I wanted Ned at the top to bring back the flower, and then that Ned was going to pick the little slug up and take her back to her family down here. But this was really just a very rough sketch. And then I started painting, and I love using paint. I know some artists work digitally, illustrators work in lots of different ways. I like to use paint. And here is the finished background for that page. You can see I've done this on just a piece of A4 paper. It's thicker than normal paper, and that's useful because it means that when I put lots of paint on it, it doesn't soak through. So there's that page. And then once I've finished this, I scan it into my computer, and I use a program called Photoshop, and Photoshop allows me to have the dimensions this size, the page on the screen, and then I can scan this in and lay it out on the final page. And my scanner is A4 size too, but you can see this is a bit bigger. So what's quite useful when I get my finished artwork onto the computer is I can resize it. So I can actually make this a little bit bigger. I can also make things smaller. So you can see here, I've done a tiny picture of Ned. It looks like a little little piece of fan art. And this little picture appears at the very front of the book. You can see actually it's down here. So on my computer, I was able to make that little bit smaller, which is really useful. So that's kind of how I illustrate. And I suppose the only other thing I wanted to talk to you about today is that as an illustrator, I am completely self-taught, which means I didn't go to art school and I don't have a degree in illustration. They are wonderful things to do, and certainly you can learn a lot from different teachers and being around other people who love art as much as you do, but that's not something I did. I went to university and I studied drama. When I started writing stories, I knew that I wanted to try and make the illustrations myself, but I kind of felt that because I hadn't been to art school, that I'd missed my chance to be an artist, and I wasn't allowed to be an artist. And I still had this little feeling, oh, maybe I can do it. So I started watching videos online to try and teach myself how to illustrate. And every time I read a new picture book, I would look up the illustrator and the artist and try and work out how they've done it. What is this magic formula for creating art? And the thing I found out is that everybody works in a completely different way. So my advice, I suppose, is if you want to be an artist, you can be an artist. It's completely, it's completely up to you. Nobody needs to give you permission to be creative. Start creating and find a way that feels fun. And ultimately, it's never too late. We're all super creative, and it's up to you to just follow your creative heart and, start making cool stuff. So yes, that's a little bit about my process. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it. Thank you. See if maybe Leah is still there. Hello. Yeah, there she is. Hiya.
Hello, Kim.
Hi.
That was fantastic. That was that was really interesting. I mean, I found it really just fascinating, the fact that you're a self-taught illustrator. Yeah, you've got this whole sort of really interesting process of producing the books that you do, sort of working with the paint, and then I was really interested in what you were saying about the scanner and the Photoshop, and you pretty much have the book produced there, don't you?
Yeah,
just
completely.
to have the words to, which I just found that really interesting. And
speaking about being self-taught, I think if you can teach, the only real formal thing I had to teach myself was how to use Photoshop, and it's not that hard. And ultimately, the pages have to be a certain size, and there is a certain way that you can, you need to use Photoshop. But other than that, if you want to start making books and illustrating, you can do it. It's just, you only need to learn those few things, and it's up to you how you create the artwork.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you mentioned a few of the different methods in which illustrators can sort of draw. I mean, you prefer paint yourself, you said. Is there a reason why you prefer working with paint?
I just like being really messy. That's the truth of it. I love sitting at my desk, and when I'm writing, I have everything really quiet, and it's it's very focused, and I write everything on paper anyway. But yeah, by the time I get to the point where I can start making stuff, get all my paints out, I have maybe some pastels on this side, sharpen all my pencils before I start, so they're all ready to go, and a beautiful piece of plain white paper in front of me, and it just feels like anything is possible. So yeah, I think that's why I like how messy it is.
Yeah, and also I suppose you talked about. I was really interested in what you were saying about creating Ned and the different shapes and the sense of movement, and saying that it's not always straight. And I found that fascinating, because you can do that with paint, can't you? You can get the different sort of shadows and textures, and Yes, yeah, I could see that.
remember hearing Grayson Perry, who's an artist, speaking about how he likes to paint. And one of the phrases he said was, you know, let the paint do some of the work. And
Yes,
I really like that, which is, you know, get these beautiful colours and kind of put them on the page and splat them around, and they can form shapes in and of themselves, which is really exciting. Yeah, so
yes.
yeah.
Okay, and I think you've got a little challenge for us as well, haven't you? Our Libraries Adventures, our weekly Libraries Adventures challenge. And I believe it's around the theme of being kind, because we talk quite a lot about Ned being kind in the story, and he eventually goes back and performs all the acts of kindness that he didn't have time to do with in the sort of first instance. So, yeah, do you want to tell us a bit more about the challenge?
Yeah. So the challenge is exactly that. It's a kindness challenge. And I'm hoping that we can all spread a little bit more kindness throughout the world, throughout our lives and our family and our friends. I think, you know, I'm sure we are all really kind people and we do think of ourselves as kind. And I think Ned probably does too. But what happens is he kind of gets caught up in the race, and maybe we can get caught up too, thinking about what we're going to have for lunch or what we need to do next or our own to-do lists. So it's all about, you know, just taking some time to stop and notice how we might be able to care for those around us that little bit more. And you never know, maybe then they might share some kindness back towards us. So the challenge is, you can get a piece of paper, and in the middle of the piece of paper, draw a picture of somebody that you care about. So that can be somebody in your home, somebody that you're living with, or it might be somebody you haven't seen for a while. Draw their picture in the middle. You could just write their name, and then round the outside of the picture, see if you can think of some ways that you might be able to surprise them with a little gesture of kindness. So it could be something small. You could make them a snack. If they're not in your home, maybe you could send them something. You could send them a picture or a piece of art. It could be something as simple as just asking the question, how are you doing today? And actually really taking the time to listen to their answer. So write those around the outside. And actually another cool thing to do is if they've got any hobbies or something that they're really interested in, that can sometimes spark some ideas of some things that you could do that they might like or might make them feel good about themselves. So see how many you can come up with. And then my ultimate challenge is to pick one of those things and see if you can do it today. And we would love to see your final pictures, because maybe some of your ideas might inspire somebody else. So yeah, that's the challenge.
That sounds like a really, really good challenge to me, because I think we could all probably perhaps
Yeah.
kind of, like you say, we don't always think about those around us because we're so focused on what we've got to do and what's going on in our day. But sometimes if you maybe just stop and think a bit, then there's lots of little acts of kindness that we can do to
Yeah,
show
it
our
doesn't always
appreciation.
need to get to the, you know, it doesn't always need to get to the extreme. It's not every day
No,
you're going to find somebody at the bottom of a giant hole, um, like Ned does. But certainly, yeah, I think if we all slowed down a little bit and
yeah,
start with those people that are around you and close to you, then it has a knock-on effect.
it
And
does.
hopefully it
Yes,
spreads, yeah, that lovely
goes
feeling.
back. Yes, definitely. We should all be more Ned, basically.
Be more Ned.
Be more Ned. We could make that a hashtag trend, couldn't we?
I think it is actually. I think some
Oh,
people
is
have
it?
said Be More Ned. So there was a Be More
Oh,
Mabel for little Mabel. So
was
yeah,
there?
Be
Oh.
More Ned.
Well, we'll hashtag that when we
Yes, that would be great.
fantastic. And don't forget, this is the email address where you can send any of your finished challenge work. So if you want to take on the kindness challenge this week, then you can just send photos of your work to lal@kirklees.gov.uk. And in the meantime, if you have any comments or questions that you want to ask Kim, then we have the feeds, we have the live feeds, which we can see, and we'll hopefully try and answer some of those questions. But in the meantime, I think we're going to have a bit of a question and answer session. So we've got some questions that we're going to answer, get Kim to answer for us. So let's see what we've got. Okay. So as an author, was there any particular authors or books that inspired you as you were growing up?
Lots and lots and lots. I have always loved books and reading. And I suppose one of the books I think about a lot still now, particularly in my new job as an author illustrator, is, I'm not sure if you remember the children's picture book, The Jolly Postman by Janet Allen Alberg, and it's got the letters in. You can take the letters out. And I remember being at primary school and waiting for somebody to drop their copy or the school's copy of that book back into the school library. And I remember seeing them drop it and thinking, obviously I didn't run, so I was at school, but I walked very fast and picking it up and being like, oh, getting to take it home and just thinking it was the coolest thing. And that sense of excitement has probably still stayed with me. And I have my own copy now, and I honestly do feel still now, I'm like, yeah, you know, this is my one. And I loved that one. I also loved Dogger by Shirley Hughes. I don't know if you know that picture book.
I know that one, yes.
I probably was a similar age. And I've got a little girl now, she's 2, and we've got a copy of it, and I've started reading it to her. And it's amazing, you know, that moment where Alfie, the little boy, loses his favorite toy, and then he sees it for sale. She's only small, and still the weight of that moment, I think she's still, you know, that's his toy. And I remember feeling like that as well. And I think I loved that book then, and I love it now, because it reminds me that, you know, young people do have very heavy emotions and we take it seriously. And that is a beautiful book. So those are 2 that have really stayed with me, I think.
Yes, I think that, they're 2 that I sort of remember from growing up. Well, I think the Jolly Postman in particular is still a really popular one now, and I think a lot of it is the fact that you can sort of take the mail out, can't you? And it's quite an interactive little book. But yeah, that's definitely a favourite of mine as well. Okay, so as an actual writer or as an illustrator, and I know you've already given us all quite a bit of advice about the actual illustrating, but what about the writing side as well? Is there any advice you could give to any of our budding writers out there?
I suppose I would just firstly echo the comment I made about the artwork, which is that everybody works in a completely different way. So you don't have to do, you know, find a way to write that you enjoy, and then that is the right way to do it. So don't worry, you don't have to be sat in a perfect place. You don't have to have, you know, the perfect notebook. You find your way to write. That's the right way to do it. And the other thing I would say is, when you're starting a story, it does help to think about books that you've read before and see if you can find something a little bit different. Certainly when I was writing Ned and Mabel, I did think, you know, Mabel's a little fly, Ned is a hamster. And I was thinking, I knew kind of what the themes of the story, but I did think to myself, you know, who could the main character be? And when I thought of a fly, I haven't seen many books about flies before, or I haven't seen too many books about hamsters before. So maybe if you can try and find something a little bit different, but then again, saying that, that's just the way I work. The most important thing is that you enjoy it. And the second most important thing is that you try and finish your stories, because when your story is finished, then you can show it to somebody and you can get some feedback. So yeah.
Okay. So with regards to your own books, they have very strong themes in them, and they sort of feature very strongly, for example, the theme of being kind in Ned, and I think in Mabel there's a very strong sort of theme around being yourself and making your own goals and not letting anybody else take that away from you. Why are these particular things important to you? What do you think it is about those particular themes that made you want to write about them for for children?
I think they are two, sort of being confident in who you are and showing compassion to the people around you probably are two of the most important things, to me anyway, and just being a human being, but also that I would hope we could be having more conversations about with young people so that the world can ultimately be full of lots of happy, confident people who are being kind to each other. Certainly with Mabel, which is the book, yes, like you say, that I wrote first, there was definitely a little bit of, that being a message to myself. I'd always written stories and always drawn pictures, and there was a little bit of me in there kind of saying, come on, Kim, you can do this. It's okay. It doesn't matter if, what Mabel finds, the little fly as she climbs this huge mountain, is there are people that are faster and stronger, and some people laugh at her along the way, and it just doesn't matter. You follow your own path and you take lots and lots of tiny steps, and eventually you'll get to where you want to, or you're meant to be. And likewise with Ned, it's just a reminder not to get too caught up in our own heads, and like I said, about what we've got to do, or any of our own worries. Sometimes just by slowing down and helping out those around us, it makes us feel good too, and it is just a lovely sort of knock-on effect, really. So yeah, they're important to me, and I hope that they make a little bit of a difference and get people thinking, which I hope is a lovely extra. I hope they're enjoyable and fun.
Yes.
But yeah, I hope that people can also, have a little think afterwards as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. They definitely they do make you think. I know we definitely enjoyed them. So
Thank you.
yes. That leads into the next question. What is your favourite way of being kind?
Ooh, now obviously we've spoken about, of course, if I saw somebody that was at the bottom of a big hole and there was some amazing rescue mission, that would be really cool. But my favorite way of being kind, I'd have to say, would be listening. And I think that, we can forget that actually taking the time to really listen to somebody if they have a problem or if they need some help, and really try and understand where they're coming from, empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. That has to be my favorite way of being kind, because I know that when somebody really listens to me, how it makes me feel, and it already starts to make you feel better. So I'd have to say, yeah, listening.
Listening, yes.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Yeah, that's it. And the more you listen, I think the easier it is to empathise with those around you and start to get an understanding of other people's feelings. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so as both an author and an illustrator, what part of the job do you think is most fun? What do you enjoy most about being an author and an illustrator?
I've already said I like to get very messy, and the part where that part is definitely fun, because by that stage, the painting part then is my answer, because by that stage I've written the story and that's kind of worked out. So that feels, great. I've got the story. Now I can have some fun. Not that part isn't fun, but it does take a lot of working out and a lot of focus. And there's definitely a freedom to having that blank piece of paper in front of you, and you can just fill it with whatever you like. And I've got this here to show you, actually. I forgot to show you this folder here is all of you see, this is everything I drew for Ned, so you can see how much is in there, kind of. And I do make mistakes, and there's lots of stuff I don't use, but I typically find that even if I don't use something I've done on the page that I don't use, a certain way of drawing a leaf, or I don't know, painting a rock. I find myself painting quite a lot of rocks, and I'll end up using later. So I love that part, just complete experimentation and mess. I don't wear my pajamas. I was nearly going to say I wear my pajamas. I don't, but it's just a step up from my pajamas, basically. I've got my old t-shirt on. I've just got my leggings on. Tie my hair back, put some music on, and just, it's really fun. Yeah.
Okay, and you won a Sainsbury's Children's Book Award for Mabel and the Mountain. Was that a rewarding experience? Was it exciting?
Yeah, rewarding and exciting, and so much more than I ever could have imagined. Yeah, it was lovely. And the coolest thing was to just think of all those wonderful people that had, loved meeting Mabel. So yeah, it was much more, where is she? Yeah, much more than I ever could have hoped for to get some recognition. But really just to think that, yeah, lots of people had met Mabel,
Yeah,
and of course that's what I'd hoped for. But also, to begin with, I was just pleased to finish my first book and get it published out into the world. That felt like a huge achievement. So it really did feel like, you know, the cherry on top of the cherry on top of the
okay,
icing on the cake.
yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely. Especially because also found out during lockdown. So it was just like, oh,
Wow,
that's some
yeah.
nice news. Yeah.
Nice bit of news in lockdown, yes. And I do
Yeah.
love Mabel. I like the fact she keeps making an appearance there.
Oh wait, I'm actually not holding
Mabel,
her straight there. There she is. Yeah.
she's
Little
brilliant.
back.
And I love her little wings as well.
I know you can't quite see, but the wool on her wings is glittery, which
Oh,
is
is it? Oh,
extra
wow.
cool touch. Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit earlier, actually, before we came on air about
Yeah.
libraries, and you were saying that you were missing your local library because you take your daughter to the library quite regularly. Were libraries a big source of inspiration for you as well as a child?
Yeah, 100%. I can remember everything about my local library. I can remember the smell. Libraries have a smell. I can remember we had a children's room. So in my library that's near me now, I take my little girl to, it's kind of open plan, and you kind of go into the children's book section. In my library growing up, it was a separate room. And I remember sometimes sneaking out of the children's room to find myself in the grown-up books. And I absolutely loved it there. I went there all the time. And I remember when I was allowed old enough that my mum would leave me there on my own for a little bit. Well, because it was right in the middle of,
Yeah.
there were like shops and stuff nearby. And that feeling of being, I'll come back in half an hour, that feeling of being left there on my own. I remember once I found a music book that my primary school teacher used to sing songs to us from, and I found it in the library. And I remember thinking, oh, I've found our songbook. Now I can like look at all of the songs and learn them. Yeah, so I loved our library, and definitely a big source of inspiration. And that's it, isn't it? It's not just picture books. It's finding books that you wouldn't normally find. So like that music book, or like some of the grown-up books, and just this sense that there's a whole world out there to discover, not just through books, but the whole world itself. So definitely, and I cannot wait to get back into my local library here with my little girl. Yeah, she was really small. She was like 1 when we were in it, and now she's 2 now, so however long it's been. But even when she was small, just the delight and the colors and being able to look at as many books as she wanted. Yeah,
So
so
she's a big fan of books too, then.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
I
Oh,
had
good.
quite a few picture books that were my picture books, which are now our picture books. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's it. You always have your sort of few favourites that you always say to yourself as yeah, that you're going to keep them for your own children,
Yeah.
and you do usually as well. And they yeah, they become your picture books, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, and so we come to the final question now. This is one that we tend to ask all
Yeah.
our writers and illustrators. I did prep you in advance for
You
this one.
did. Yes.
If you were a biscuit, what biscuit would you be? And it's
I
trickier than you think.
It is really hard because
Yes.
I like biscuits. So I've had a think. If I was a biscuit, I would be a plain chocolate biscuit because I love chocolate more than anything. Um, but one half of me would be dunked in even more chocolate. There'd be like
Mm.
edible glitter, brightly colored sprinkles, maybe some like chocolate chunks. Maybe somebody's got like a little icing pen and iced some cats on there. I've got 2 cats. So there's loads of stuff going on that side. But then the other half of me would just be completely plain. And I think, you know, that's a lot like me, because sometimes I love being loud and meeting new people and, you know, singing in the shower and dancing and having lots of fun. But there's definitely a side of me that is really quiet, and I like to be on my own, writing and reading and thinking. And I think I used to feel like I had to choose which one of those I wanted to be. And as I've grown a bit older, I've realized that it's okay to be both. And I think actually it's kind of cool being both. Yeah, and you know, maybe that's kind of what makes us human. Some days we do get up and we do feel like we want to have a slower, softer day than other days, and that's okay and that's normal. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
biscuit.
I think
I've
that's one of
really
the
thought
most,
about it.
yeah, oh, yes. I think that's probably one of the most interesting answers I've heard, actually. And it's true what you say as well about us all having various sides to our
Yeah,
personality. And
yeah,
yeah, we all have the more outgoing side, but we all like to be
definitely.
quiet at times. So yeah, that's a really good answer. And
Oh,
I love glitter on food as well. So
yeah, especially if you can eat it. You know,
that adds
a
to
glittery
it.
tongue.
Glitter, oh
Amazing.
yes. Anytime. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Kim,
Oh,
for
thank
answering all our
you.
questions and for such an insightful and fascinating libraries adventures today, and also for the brilliant kindness challenge that you've set for us. So yeah, we can definitely all have a go at being kinder to each other. Okay, so our libraries may be closed to the public at the moment, but we hope to open them again soon, and we can't wait to welcome everybody back. But in the meantime, don't forget our extensive online library, Overdrive. So you can find it here, kirkleys.overdrive.com. And you can also download and use the free Libby app on your tablet or phone. To keep up to date with the latest on libraries, you can call us on 01484 414 868, or you can visit the library's website at www.kirkleyslibraries.co.uk. So that will give you all the information you need on the latest news regarding libraries, libraries reopening, and also you can catch up on all our Libraries Adventures Live, what's coming up in the future on there. So next week, we've got illustrator of I Am Brown, Sandhya Prabhat, and she's going to be doing a storytelling and draw-along session, which is going to feature themes of cultural diversity and identity. So be sure to tune in for that, because it sounds really, really interesting. And all that's left to say now is just another massive thank you to Kim Hillyard for today's session. And I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. So have a good week, take care and stay safe, and we'll see you all the same time next week. Okay, bye from us.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.